So if the Son of God died, okay, why do you call Friday Good Friday? It is
Oh,
like
okay.
sad
Well,
day.
yeah. Well, so first let's think of an Old Testament counterpart in some sense to this. In the Old Testament, you have the story of Joseph, right, where his brothers, out of their envy for God's blessing upon him and the fact that his father Jacob favors him, they they dislike Joseph, they mistreat Joseph, they ultimately end up selling him into slavery. This leads Joseph to experience all sorts of hardships. He's taken captive. He's a slave. He ends up becoming a servant in Potiphar's house, but even that goes bad because uh, Potiphar's wife falsely accuses him of trying to have relations with her, and so he gets thrown into prison. Then he almost gets killed in prison, but he's saved by interpreting Pharaoh's dreams. Uh, and so ultimately, then he becomes the second next to Pharaoh, his right hand man, ruler over all of Egypt, right? Later in the story, and a lot of people already know this, later in the story, like many, many, many years later, uh, after Joseph is now older, he's grown a big old beard and is not as recognizable. Um, his brothers have to go down to Egypt to get food for their family because it's a time of famine. And when they go up, eventually in the story, there's a lot more suspense than this. But at the end of the story, Joseph reveals himself to his brothers, and now they think that he's going to kill them because of what they did to him. And here's what Joseph says. Joseph says, "You meant it for evil against me, but God intended it for good in order to save many lives." So Joseph's reasoning is this was the will of God, and it ultimately was designed for good to bring about this situation where I'm now able to save you, my brothers, even though what you did was wicked. Well, in the same way, the New Testament speaks of the cross of Christ like that. It says that the Pharisees, the religious leaders, they envied Jesus, they hated Jesus, they conspired to kill him, they handed him over to the Romans to be killed. And even though what they did was evil, God meant it for good in order to bring about salvation. That's there's almost verbatim echoes of Genesis 50 in there about Joseph in Acts chapter 2 and Acts 4. It's likening what happened to Christ to what happened to Joseph. And of course, what happens after that is Jesus is exalted to the right hand of the Father, right? Just like Joseph was exalted to the right hand of Pharaoh. And so we call it good because of what God's intention was in the event, what God was accomplishing. For us, it's good. Christ saved us. It was the ultimate act of sacrificial and saving love. And so it's good from that perspective.